Picture this. You're absolutely starving. You open the fridge, but there's nothing inside except a bottle of water and some sketchy expired mustard. But you don't panic. With just a few taps on your phone, a delivery guy is already on his way with pizza, burgers, or fried chicken. Easy, right? But let's wind back the clock. About 1.9 million years ago. No electricity, no stoves, no salt, and definitely no delivery apps. Our early ancestors, Homo erectus, survived on raw fruits, roots, and raw, bloody meat from whatever animal they managed to scavenge or kill. Yes, raw. Imagine chewing on a piece of rubber that tastes like cold copper and hair. That was breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day. But one day, everything changed. Some accidental genius caveman discovered the magic of fire and invented the world's very first home-cooked meal. Before we look at what they cooked, how did they even realize that cooking was an option? Scientists believe it all started with a massive accident. Most likely, a wildfire triggered by a lightning strike swept through a forest. Once the fire died out, our ancestors ventured back in to scavenge. That's when they stumbled upon the animals that couldn't escape the flames. They were charred, black, and still steaming. Og probably thought, well, might as well not let this go to waste. But when he took a bite, boom! It was incredibly soft compared to raw meat. It smelled amazing. And most importantly, it didn't take 3 hours of jaw-breaking chewing to swallow. Ladies and gentlemen, this was humanity's very first taste of smoked BBQ. But wait. What was the exact first meal that humans actually cooked on purpose? I mean, they couldn't just sit around waiting for lightning to strike a forest every time they got hungry. In 2022, archaeologists in Israel made a mind-blowing discovery. They were digging at an archaeological site called Gesher Benot Yaakov, which is right by an ancient lake, when they stumbled upon something crazy. Buried deep in the dirt, they found a massive pile of fish teeth. But these weren't just any regular fish teeth. They belonged to a giant, prehistoric, carp-like monster that grew up to 2 meters long. That's practically the size of a modern-day professional basketball player, but with scales and fins. Even crazier, these teeth were dated back to an incredible 780,000 years ago. To put that into perspective, that is more than 600,000 years before modern humans, Homo sapiens, even showed up on Earth. The ones hanging out by this lake were actually our ancient ancestors, Homo erectus. Now you might wonder, how on earth do scientists know these fish were cooked and not just burnt in a random forest fire? Well, this is where the detective work gets cool. Scientists didn't just look at the teeth, they practically interrogated them using a technique called X-ray powder diffraction. By analyzing the structure of the tiny crystals in the tooth enamel, they can tell exactly how hot the teeth got. If the fish had been thrown directly into a raging forest fire, the teeth would have been charred to a crisp at extreme, uncontrolled temperatures of over 500 degrees Celsius. But the crystal analysis proved the teeth were only exposed to a gentle, controlled heat of about 200 to 300 degrees Celsius. This is the ultimate smoking gun. It proves that our ancient ancestors weren't just dumb cavemen tossing stuff into a bonfire. They actually knew how to control the heat. They likely built primitive earth ovens or designed a way to slow roast, bake, or grill these giant fish right next to the flames without burning them to ash. So, if you ask science for the oldest, most solid evidence of a cooked meal, it's none other than grilled fish. No lemon, no butter, no garlic, but to them it was a 5-star gourmet experience. Now you might be thinking, okay, so they grilled some fish. Big deal. Actually, it is a huge deal. In fact, if we never learned how to cook, we would probably still be swinging from trees today. Eating raw meat and tough fibrous plants requires a massive jaw and an insane amount of chewing. Chimpanzees, for example, spend up to 6 hours a day just chewing their food. On top of that, raw food is incredibly hard for the stomach to digest, meaning less energy is actually absorbed by the body. But when we cook food, the heat essentially pre-digests it for us. It breaks down the tough fibers and proteins, making it incredibly easy for our stomachs to process. Suddenly, our ancestors were getting a massive rush of calories and nutrients with barely any effort. And where did all that extra energy go? Straight to our brains. Over thousands of years, our guts shrank, our jaws got smaller, and our brains exploded in size. Cooking gave us the free time and the brain power to do things other than chew all day, like creating art, building communities, and inventing technology. In short, the kitchen fire is what sparked human civilization. So, the next time you're eating a delicious meal, or even just slurping down instant ramen at midnight, take a second to thank those brave cavemen who decided to eat a burnt carcass 1.9 million years ago. Because without them, you'd still be in the wild, spending 6 hours a day chewing on raw leaves and dirty rodents. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with your foodie friends. See you in the next one. Bye!